cold wind whipped across the plains, carrying with it the scent of smoke and the distant cries of battle. Beneath a sky heavy with slate-gray clouds, the ground trembled under the thundering hooves of thousands of Mongol warriors. At their center, mounted on a powerful steed, Genghis Khan, once known as Temujin, surveyed the chaos. His eyes, sharp as a hawk's, scanned the horizon where the enemy banners fluttered like trapped birds. The air was thick with the metallic tang of blood and the acrid smell of burning wood, mingling into a scent that would linger long in memory. Amidst the cacophony of clashing swords and the shrieks of the wounded, Genghis raised his arm. The signal was given. Like a single, living organism, his army surged forward, an unstoppable tide of flesh and steel. Arrows flew like swallows in a storm, darkening the sky, their whistle merging with the chilling wails of the dying. This was no ordinary battle. It was a turning point. A moment when history itself seemed to hold its breath as the fate of empires was decided. As the dust settled and the cries dwindled to a haunting echo, Genghis Khan remained silent, his expression an enigma carved in stone. Victory was his, yet the cost was written in the soil, soaked in the life of countless warriors. The world had shifted beneath his feet, the once disparate tribes now unified under one banner, his banner. His heart beat with the rhythm of conquest, yet the weight of what lay ahead pressed heavily upon him. But to understand how we got here, to this field of triumph and tragedy, we must turn back the pages of time, back to the birth of a boy named Temujin in the rugged, unforgiving lands of Mongolia. A boy who would rise from the ashes of betrayal and loss, who would forge alliances as sharp as any blade, and who would come to know the true meaning of power. In the vast expanse of the Mongolian steppe, where the land stretched endlessly beneath a dome of azure sky, Temujin was born in 1162. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of wild grass and the distant smoke of campfires. His early years unfolded in a world where survival meant mastering the art of riding and the language of the wind. Here, the echoes of hooves were as constant as the whispers of the breeze, and the horizon seemed to promise both freedom and danger in equal measure. Temujin's father, Yesugei, was a respected chieftain of the Borjigin clan, a man whose presence commanded attention like the rumble of an approaching storm. Yet life on the steppe was as unpredictable as the weather. When Temujin was only 9, his father was poisoned by a rival tribe, leaving the family vulnerable and beset by enemies. The smell of fear mingled with the bite of the cold wind as Temujin's mother, Holun, gathered her children close, her eyes fierce and determined. The family was cast out, abandoned by their own people, left to fend for themselves in the unforgiving wilderness. The nights were long and filled with the howls of wolves, the darkness pressing down like a heavy blanket. But Holun, with her indomitable spirit, taught her children resilience, the harsh lessons of the steppe etched into their very bones. They learned to trap small game, to scavenge for roots and berries, the taste of survival often bitter and hard-earned. As the seasons turned, Temujin grew into a young man marked by the struggles of his youth. The icy rivers where he fished with his brothers became a testing ground, the cold water numbing fingers that would one day wield a sword. His gaze, once wide with the innocence of childhood, now held the intensity of a hawk, sharp and unyielding. Each hardship was a forge, tempering his spirit, shaping him into someone who would not just endure but rise. In the evenings, as the fire crackled and the stars hung like jewels in the vast night sky, Temujin listened to the stories of his ancestors, tales woven with the threads of legend and history. They spoke of valor and betrayal, of love and loss, each story a reminder of a lineage that demanded greatness. The warmth of the fire created a flickering dance of light and shadow, mirroring the conflict and ambition that simmered within him. It was during these formative years that Temujin made his first alliances. Bonds forged not just out of necessity, but from shared dreams and mutual respect. Jamuka, his blood brother, became a pivotal figure, their friendship a beacon of strength. Together, they imagined a future where they could transcend the petty rivalries that fractured their world. The air around them crackled with the electricity of possibility, their conversations a symphony of ambition and camaraderie. Yet the path to power was fraught with obstacles. The steppe was a tapestry of tribal tensions, each clan a thread woven with pride and grudges. The whispers of discontent were carried on the wind, and Temujin knew that unity would require more than just words. It demanded vision and the courage to act, to challenge the status quo and redefine what leadership meant. As Temujin navigated this landscape, he was acutely aware of the fragile balance between strength and compassion. The lessons of his mother lingered in his heart, her voice a gentle reminder that power should be wielded wisely, that true leadership was as much about empathy as it was about authority. The warmth of her embrace, the steady rhythm of her heartbeat, were memories that anchored him, even as he plotted his ascent. The Mongolian plains, with their sweeping vistas and relentless winds, were both a crucible and a canvas. They tested Temujin's mettle, honed his instincts, and fueled his dreams. In this vast, untamed wilderness, he saw not just the challenges of his present, but the possibilities of his future. The steppe was his teacher, its lessons as enduring as the mountains that framed the horizon. As the narrative of his life began to unfold, it was clear that Temujin was destined for greatness. The whispers of his name carried through the valleys and over the hills, a promise of change that resonated with those who longed for a new dawn. The air was thick with anticipation, the scent of possibility mingling with the earthy aroma of the land. In the quiet moments, when the world seemed to hold its breath, Temujin dreamed of uniting the tribes, of forging an empire that would stand the test of time. His vision was as vast as the steppe itself, a vision that would require not only the strength of warriors, but the wisdom of leaders. The path ahead was long and fraught with peril, but the fire of determination burned bright within him, a beacon that would guide him through the darkness. As sleep descended upon the land, the stories of old whispered on the wind, mingling with the dreams of those who dared to imagine a different future. In the heart of the steppe, beneath a sky full of stars, Temujin's journey was just beginning, a journey that would reshape the world and echo through the ages. And so, as the night deepened, the listener drifted into slumber, carried on the gentle tide of history's embrace, cradled by the timeless tale of Genghis Khan's origins. In the dusky glow of dawn, Temujin stood on the rolling Mongolian steppe, the chill biting through his worn fur coat. The air was crisp, carrying the distant scent of smoke and the faint whispers of the wind rustling through the dry grass. This land of endless horizons had shaped him, molded him into the man destined to change the world. He was no longer the boy who had lost his father, left to fend for his family amidst the harshness of the steppe. He was a leader now, a visionary, and his eyes were set firmly on the unification of the scattered tribes. The journey to power had not been easy. Each alliance forged was delicate, like ice on a thawing river, ready to crack under the slightest pressure. His earliest and most crucial alliance was with Togrul, the Khan of the Karaites, a seasoned leader who recognized the spark of greatness in Temujin. Togrul had been a friend of Temujin's father, Yesugei, and he offered his support, gifting the young leader with a small army. This backing was crucial, a sturdy branch in a storm, allowing Temujin to assert his influence over rival clans. Yet, it was the bond with Jamuka, Temujin's blood brother, that truly solidified his path. Together, they shared dreams of a unified Mongolia, their plans punctuated by the crackling of campfires and the solemn vows exchanged under the vast starlit sky. But fate has a way of twisting intentions, and soon, their friendship would be tested by ambition and betrayal, like the shifting sands of the Gobi Desert. As Temujin's influence grew, so did the murmurs of discontent. The tribal leaders were wary, their eyes narrow with suspicion as they watched this upstart gain power. They had seen leaders rise and fall, like the fleeting seasons, but there was something different about Temujin. His charisma was undeniable, drawing people to him like moths to a flame, his words a soothing balm to the restless spirits of the steppes. His vision was clear, a united land, free from the chaos of constant warfare, where the Mongol people could prosper. In the spring of 1187, a gathering was called at Kurultai, the traditional meeting of the tribes. The air was thick with tension, the scent of sweat and horses mingling with the earthy aroma of the steppe. Temujin stood before the assembled tribes, his voice steady, resonating with the authority of a man who understood their hopes and fears. He spoke of unity, of strength in numbers, and the promise of a future where the Mongolian people could stand as one. His words were like arrows, piercing through the doubt, igniting a spark in the hearts of those who listened. Yet, not all were convinced. Rival leaders whispered of rebellion, their voices like the hiss of a snake in the grass. They plotted in the shadows, their schemes woven with threads of deceit and jealousy. But Temujin was not blind to these threats. He had learned to read the signs, to anticipate the movements of his enemies, much like a skilled hunter tracking his prey through the wilderness. The turning point came during the Battle of Dalan Baljut in 1187, a clash that echoed across the steppes, the sound of clashing metal ringing in the air like a storm. It was here that Temujin's strategic prowess shone. With cunning and guile, he outmaneuvered his opponents, his troops moving with the precision of a well-oiled machine. The victory was decisive, a testament to his leadership and the loyalty he inspired in his followers. The ground was soaked with the blood of his enemies, a grim reminder of the cost of his ambitions. As the dust settled, Temujin's reputation soared, his name spoken with a mixture of awe and fear. The victory at Dalan Baljut was more than just a military triumph. It was a signal, a declaration that he was a force to be reckoned with. The tribes began to see him not just as a leader, but as a unifier, someone who could bring them together under a single banner. In the years that followed, Temujin's influence spread like ripples across a pond. The Mongol people, once fragmented and divided, began to see the possibilities of unity, the potential for greatness that lay within their grasp. It was a time of transformation, a moment when the winds of change swept across the steppes, carrying with them the seeds of a new era. And so, under the vast expanse of the Mongolian sky, with the stars as his witness, Temujin continued to rise. His journey was far from over, the challenges ahead as daunting as the mountains that loomed in the distance. But he was undeterred, driven by a vision that burned bright within him, a flame that would not be extinguished. As the night deepened, the cool breeze whispered through the grass, a gentle lullaby to the weary souls who lay beneath the stars. The world was changing, and with it, the destiny of a people who dared to dream of a brighter tomorrow. Temujin was their beacon, a steadfast guide in the darkness, leading them toward a future that shimmered with promise. And as the first light of dawn began to creep over the horizon, the Mongolian steppes stood silent, a testament to the power of one man's vision and the indomitable spirit of a nation on the cusp of greatness. In the spring of 1189, the Mongolian steppe awoke under a dome of endless sky, the air crisp with the scent of thawing earth. Temujin, now a leader of formidable presence, sensed the ripples of discontent among the tribes. The horses snorted in the cold morning, their breath misting as they prepared for the day's march. There, beneath the pale dawn, a storm brewed, not of nature, but of human ambition and betrayal. The gathering at Kurultai had left the tribes in a delicate balance of power. It was a moment teetering on the edge of chaos, and Temujin knew that a single misstep could plunge everything into darkness. Jamuka, once his blood brother, now stood as a formidable rival, his own ambitions casting long shadows over the steppe. A few nights prior, in the muted glow of a campfire, whispers had reached Temujin's ears, whispers of Jamuka's growing discontent and the ominous alliance he forged with Togrul, the Khan of the Kerit. The revelation struck like a thunderclap. Jamuka, with his keen mind and charismatic presence, had marshaled a coalition of tribes. On a chilly evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Jamuka's forces descended upon Temujin's camp. The screams of men and the clash of metal filled the air, a cacophony of chaos and betrayal. Flames licked the tents, casting eerie shadows that danced in the night as the attack unfolded with merciless precision. Temujin's forces, though caught off guard, were not without resolve. He rallied his men, their loyalty and courage forged in the crucible of past battles. The clash was fierce and unrelenting, the sound of swords slicing through the air mingling with the cries of the wounded. In the midst of the turmoil, Temujin stood as a beacon of defiance, his eyes alight with determination. The battle raged until the first light of dawn crept over the horizon, painting the steppe with hues of gold and crimson. The ground was littered with the fallen, the cost of ambition etched in the blood-soaked earth. Temujin, though battered, had survived. Yet, the human cost was staggering. Dozens of his men lay dead, their lives extinguished in the pursuit of power. In the aftermath, Temujin surveyed the ruin left in Jamuka's wake. The smell of smoke lingered, a bitter reminder of the night's violence. His mind, however, was clear. This was not merely a defeat, it was a turning point. The realization dawned upon him like the rising sun. This conflict could not be settled through mere force. It required strategy, alliances, and an unyielding will. In the days that followed, Temujin convened with his closest advisors. Their faces were etched with the lines of worry and fatigue, yet their spirits remained unbroken. They spoke of the need for unity, the necessity of forging bonds stronger than those of blood. Temujin listened, his thoughts a torrent of plans and possibilities. He understood that to counter Jamuka's coalition, he needed to strengthen his own alliances. The decision came like a whisper on the wind. Temujin would seek the aid of the Ongarat and the Merkit, tribes with long-standing grievances against Jamuka and Togrul. It was a bold move, fraught with risk, but one that promised the balance of power might shift once more. As he rode out to meet with their leaders, the steppe stretched before him, a vast expanse of possibility and peril. Days turned into nights beneath the starlit sky, the chill of the air biting against his skin. Temujin's journey was arduous, but his resolve was unshakable. He spoke to the leaders of the Ongjirat and the Merkit, his words imbued with the weight of promises and the hope of a united front. His vision for a unified Mongol nation resonated, echoing through the hearts of those who longed for stability amid the chaos. Slowly, the tides began to turn. The tribes, weary of the endless cycle of conflict, began to rally behind Temujin's banner. They saw in him not just a leader, but a symbol of a future where their children might grow up in a world free from the shackles of tribal warfare. The air, once tense with the threat of betrayal, now crackled with the energy of newfound alliances. As the sun rose over the Mongolian steppe, casting long shadows that stretched across the land, Temujin stood at the precipice of change. The crisis he faced had been a crucible, forging not just his resolve, but the very fate of the tribes. The path ahead was fraught with dangers yet untold, but the foundation of his empire was being laid, stone by stone, through the trials of conflict and the resilience of the human spirit. The winds of the steppe carried the scent of promise mingled with the remnants of past battles. Temujin, now more than ever, understood the delicate balance of power and the relentless nature of ambition. Yet, as he gazed across the vast expanse of his homeland, he knew that the seeds of unity had been sown. The legacy of Genghis Khan was beginning to take shape, carved from the crucible of crisis and the enduring strength of the human heart. The journey was far from over, but the dawn of a new era was on the horizon, waiting to be seized by those bold enough to grasp it. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth, and the soft rustle of grass swayed under the weight of an early morning mist. The Mongolian steppe stretched vast and unyielding, its horizon a mirage of potential and peril. Temujin stood poised, a solitary figure against the dawn's gentle glow, his breath visible in the chill as he contemplated the battle that lay ahead. It was the year 1204, and the world as he knew it was on the brink of profound change. Around him, the camp stirred to life. Horses snorted, their breath mingling with the crisp air, while the muffled clatter of armor and weapons echoed the resolve in the hearts of his men. This was more than just another battle. It was a turning point, a decisive moment that would either cement Temujin's vision of a united Mongol nation or scatter it to the winds. His eyes, sharp and unwavering, scanned the encampment, locking briefly with those of his trusted allies. Togrul, once a father figure, now an adversary, lay somewhere beyond the horizon, his forces gathering strength for the impending clash. The morning sun, a reluctant orb, began its ascent, casting a golden hue over the plains. With it came the time to move. Temujin mounted his steed, the leather saddle creaking under his weight, the horse's muscles twitching with anticipation. He led his army forward, a tide of warriors flowing across the steppe, their banners snapping in the brisk wind, colors vibrant against the muted backdrop of the land. As they approached the battlefield, the distant sound of hooves thundered like an ominous drumbeat. The enemy was close, and with each passing moment, the tension coiled tighter within Temujin, a spring ready to unleash its power. He thought of Jamuka, his blood brother turned foe, and the complex web of loyalty and betrayal that had brought them to this point. Their friendship, once a beacon of unity, was now a casualty of ambition, a testament to the harsh realities of power. The armies clashed under a sky vast and indifferent, the sounds of conflict rising like a symphony of chaos. The clang of metal on metal, the shouts, the cries of the wounded. It was a cacophony that reverberated through Temujin's bones, each moment a test of his resolve. He moved through the fray, sword in hand, a force of nature amidst the storm. Around him, his men fought with the ferocity of those who know the stakes, their loyalty to Temujin as unyielding as the earth beneath their feet. Amidst the turmoil, a pivotal encounter unfolded. Togrul's forces, once formidable, began to falter under the relentless onslaught. Temujin, sensing the shift, pressed his advantage, his strategy unfolding with precision and clarity. It was here, in the heart of the battle, that the tide turned. Togrul, the once mighty leader, fell, not by sword or spear, but by the weight of his own faltering alliance, his support crumbling like dust in the wind. The sun reached its zenith as the dust settled, the battlefield now a tableau of victory and defeat. Temujin stood amidst the aftermath, his breath steady but his mind a whirlwind of thoughts. The path he had chosen, fraught with peril and sacrifice, had led him here, to a place of triumph, yes, but also of reflection. He gazed at the horizon, the vast steppe stretching endlessly, a reminder of both the empire he sought to build and the legacy he hoped to leave. In the quiet that followed, the world seemed to hold its breath. The wind whispered through the grass, a gentle caress that carried with it the echoes of those who had fallen. Temujin's heart, though heavy with the weight of loss and the burden of leadership, beat with a steady resolve. He turned to his men, their faces weary, yet alight with the glow of victory. They had fought not just for him, but for a vision of a united Mongol nation, bound not by blood alone, but by shared purpose and destiny. As the sun dipped towards the horizon, painting the sky in hues of amber and rose, Temujin knew that this day would be remembered, not just for the battle won, but for the idea that survived it. An idea that would ripple through time, shaping the future in ways he could scarcely imagine. The legacy of Genghis Khan, a name now whispered with both reverence and awe, had begun to take form, etched into the very fabric of the world like a timeless tapestry. The camp settled into the rhythm of evening, the firelight flickering against the darkening sky. Temujin sat before the flames, the warmth a comfort against the encroaching chill. His thoughts drifted to those who had once walked beside him, Jamuka, Togrul, and others, their stories intertwined with his own, each thread a vital part of the tapestry. The world had shifted beneath their feet, and in the quiet of the night, Temujin understood that his journey was far from over. The steppe, vast and eternal, awaited his next move. With a heart full of determination, he closed his eyes, the weight of the day settling like a gentle cloak around him. Tomorrow, he knew, would bring new challenges and new opportunities, but for now the world was still, and sleep beckoned like a distant friend. The fire crackled softly, a lullaby of embers, as the night wrapped its arms around the camp, and dreams of a united empire danced on the edges of his consciousness. In the quiet that followed the Battle of 1204, the Mongolian steppe lay shrouded in a solemn hush. The air was thick with the scent of churned earth and the lingering traces of smoke. Temujin walked the battlefield, his fur-lined cloak stirring lightly in the early morning breeze. Here, where clamor and chaos reigned just days before, he now faced a landscape littered with both triumph and loss. The ground was marked by the tracks of men and horses, the remnants of fierce struggle etched into the soil. Amidst the silence, the cries of widows and the keening of orphans rose softly, blending with the mournful wail of the wind. Each sound was a reminder of the cost of unity, the harsh price paid for a dream that was slowly becoming reality. Temujin's heart was heavy, burdened by the knowledge that this victory, while monumental, had not come without sacrifice. His eyes, dark and piercing, surveyed the scene, a mosaic of life, death, and the promise of a new beginning. The bodies of fallen warriors lay still, their once vibrant spirits now part of the vast expanse they had fought to claim. The sun, low on the horizon, cast long shadows over their forms, painting them as silent sentinels in the tale of conquest. Temujin's mind drifted to those who had stood beside him, men like Togrul who had once been allies, now swept away by the tides of ambition and betrayal. His thoughts lingered on Jamuka, his blood brother turned rival, whose fate remained uncertain amidst the chaos of recent days. In the weeks that followed, the clans gathered to mourn and to heal. Fires crackled in the chill of evening, their warmth offering comfort against the creeping cold of approaching winter. The scent of burning sage and incense filled the air, swirling upward into the vast Mongolian sky. Stories were shared over meager meals, tales of bravery and folly, of loyalty and loss. These were moments of reflection, of reckoning with the past and contemplating the future. Temujin's presence was a constant, his figure a beacon of resilience and resolve. He moved among his people, offering words of solace and strength, his deep voice carrying promises of a brighter dawn. The bonds of kinship and camaraderie were strengthened in those nights, forged in the crucible of shared experience and hardship. Slowly, the fabric of the Mongol tribes began to weave together, threads of different colors and textures forming a tapestry of unity under his leadership. The survivors rebuilt what had been destroyed, crafting new yurts from the remnants of the old, their hands calloused but determined. The scent of fresh leather and horsehair mingled with the earthiness of the steppe, a testament to resilience and renewal. Children, wide-eyed and curious, watched as the adults worked, their laughter a sweet counterpoint to the somberness of recent memories. They were the promise of tomorrow, the next generation who would inherit the legacy of their forebears. As the days turned to weeks and the weeks to months, the Mongolian plains began to pulse with life once more. Herds of horses grazed peacefully, their coats gleaming under the sun. The land, though scarred, was healing, much like its people. Temujin, now more than ever, was determined to honor the lives lost by ensuring that their sacrifices were not in vain. He convened councils, drawing leaders from across the steppe, his vision of a united Mongol nation becoming clearer with each passing day. In this time of rebuilding, Temujin's innovative spirit shone brightly. He introduced new strategies, not just for war, but for governance and trade, laying the foundations of an empire that would stretch far beyond the horizon. His laws, known as the Yasa, were recited by campfires, their principles echoing through the tents and hearts of his people. Justice, loyalty, and discipline became the pillars upon which his burgeoning empire rested, offering stability in a world that had known only the chaos of tribal disputes. The legacy of the battle, though tinged with sorrow, was one of hope and transformation. From the ashes of conflict, a new world was being born, shaped by the hands of those who dared to dream of something greater. Temujin, the man who would be known to history as Genghis Khan, stood at the helm, his eyes fixed on the future, his heart carrying the weight of the past. He understood that the path ahead would not be easy, but he was no stranger to adversity. His life had been a testament to the power of resilience and the unyielding spirit of a leader destined to change the world. And so, as the Mongolian steppe slowly returned to life, so too did the people who called it home. Their journey was far from over, but with each step, they moved closer to realizing the dream of a united empire. The echoes of the battle would fade with time, but the lessons learned and the bonds forged would remain, guiding them through the challenges yet to come. In the quiet of night, under the vast, star-studded sky, the Mongols dreamed of a future filled with promise, their spirits as enduring as the land they cherished. In the quiet echo of the Mongolian steppe, where whispers of wind tell tales of a bygone era, the legacy of Genghis Khan unfolds, a tapestry woven with threads of myth and history. Long after the dust of his conquest settled, his shadow loomed large, casting its presence across continents. The stories of Temujin, the boy who became the great Khan, drift like the soft rustle of leaves, reshaping themselves with each retelling. In the centuries that followed, the world remembered him in myriad ways. A warrior of unmatched ferocity, a leader of visionary insight, a unifier of disparate tribes. Yet, as with all legends, the truth and the myth danced together, inseparable. The conquests that forged the largest contiguous empire the world had ever seen were sometimes recounted in hushed tones of fear and awe, tales of cities razed and rivers running red. Yet amidst these tales of destruction, there lay stories of a world transformed, a world where trade routes flourished, ideas traversed borders, and cultures intertwined like never before. The Mongol Empire under Genghis Khan's progeny became a crucible of exchange. From the silken threads of China to the aromatic spices of India, the empire was a vast network of connectivity. Caravans trudged across the harsh Gobi Desert, their camels laden with treasures and knowledge, their journey marked by the crunch of sand underfoot and the howl of the relentless winds. Scholars and merchants traveled the famed Silk Road, carrying with them innovations in warfare, governance, and culture, an exchange that would ripple through time. Yet, the legacy of Genghis Khan was not solely one of conquer and conqueror. His reign marked the dawn of a new era of administration and law. The Yasa, his code of laws, whispered of a vision for a unified world, a world where merit eclipsed birth, where loyalty was the coin of the realm. The Mongol postal system, a marvel of efficiency, connected the vast stretches of the empire, a lifeline of communication that was likened to the veins of a living body, pulsing with the lifeblood of information. In Europe, tales of the Mongols were woven into the fabric of fear and fascination. Chroniclers wrote of the horsemen from the east, whose thunderous approach was likened to a storm's roar. Yet even as these stories spread, so did the innovations they brought: gunpowder, paper currency, and the compass, all seeds planted in the fertile soil of the Western imagination. With each passing generation, the memory of Genghis Khan shifted. Some saw him as a ruthless conqueror, others as a bringer of order in a chaotic world. The Mongols, under his banner, had forged a Pax Mongolica, a peace that allowed trade and culture to flourish. Yet this peace was built on the bones of the fallen, a testament to the duality of his legacy. As the centuries rolled on, the echoes of Genghis Khan's reign could be heard in the corridors of power across the globe. His descendants, the Khans of the Golden Horde, the Ilkhanate, the Chagatai Khanate, and the Yuan Dynasty, continued to shape the world, their influence like a river, carving its path through the landscape of history. The very name Genghis Khan became synonymous with strength and cunning, a name invoked in times of need, a talisman against the chaos of the world. Yet, for all the tales and legends, there was a quieter legacy, one of unity forged through hardship, of resilience against the odds. The Mongolian steppes, once a land of disparate tribes, had become the heart of an empire, a place where the spirit of Temujin lived on in the stories told by the fireside, the songs sung under the vast, starlit sky. In the modern world, the legacy of Genghis Khan is a tapestry of contradictions, a blend of admiration and condemnation. He is remembered as both destroyer and unifier, a figure whose life was a testament to the power of ambition and the complexities of human nature. The Mongol Empire's influence is evident in the cultural syncretism that characterizes much of Asia and Europe today, a reminder of the interconnectedness of all humanity. As the world continues to evolve, the story of Genghis Khan remains a testament to the enduring power of narrative. His life, a saga of rise and fall, of triumph and tragedy, speaks to the eternal human quest for meaning, for legacy. And as we listen, eyes closed, drifting into the embrace of sleep, we are reminded that history is not just the story of the past, but a living, breathing entity that shapes our present and future. In the stillness of the night, as the echoes of his tale fade into the quiet, we are left with the gentle reminder of our shared humanity, a legacy as vast and enduring as the empire he once ruled. And with that thought, we surrender to the night, letting the stories of old cradle us into dreams, where the past and present meet in the endless dance of time. In the vast, silent expanse of the Mongolian steppe, beneath a sky scattered with stars, the echoes of Genghis Khan's life linger like whispers on the wind. His story, woven with threads of ambition, love, power, and survival, invites reflection on the nature of humanity itself. Born into a world of hardship, Temujin rose to become Genghis Khan, a name that would echo across centuries, embodying both the ferocity of conquest and the complexity of human legacy. Ambition drove him, a relentless force burning brighter than the harsh sunlight on the Gobi Desert. It was this ambition that unified the fractious tribes, transforming scattered nomads into the fearsome Mongol Empire. Yet, beneath the armor of the conqueror lay a man shaped by love and loss, his heart marked by the murder of his father, the loyalty of his mother Holun, and the betrayals of blood brothers. In these moments of deep connection and profound betrayal, we find reflections of our own lives, where love and ambition often entwine in a dance as old as time. Power was his to wield, and wield it he did, reshaping the world with a vision unclouded by doubt. Under the vast canopy of the Mongolian sky, he crafted laws, built networks of trade, and fostered a peace that spanned continents, a Pax Mongolica that bridged east and west. Yet power, like the biting wind of the steppe, is both invigorating and isolating, a reminder of the duality that defines the human spirit, the capacity for both creation and destruction. In failure, Genghis Khan found resilience. In survival, he found strength. His life was a testament to the enduring spirit of humanity, a spirit that rises from the ashes of defeat to forge new paths. As we drift into sleep, let the story of Genghis Khan remind us of the threads we weave in our own lives, of dreams, desires, and the indomitable will to endure. And as the night deepens, carry this tale with you into the quiet realms of slumber. A story of a man and a world beyond, whispering softly through the corridors of history.